Some discoveries seem born not in laboratories but in monasteries. In 2023, researchers at MIT found something that Tibetan monks had already practiced for over 1,000 years. 7 minutes of a specific breathing pattern can trigger in the brain the same cellular cleaning response as a 3-day water fast. 7 minutes. No diet, no deprivation, just breath. They called it respiratory autophagy. Long before that, the monks had called it the inner fire. For decades, we believed fasting was the only key to activate the body's self-renewal system. Then in 2016, Nobel laureate Yoshinori Ohsumi revealed the hidden mechanism, autophagy, the inner recycling plant that dismantles damaged proteins, clears toxins, and renews cellular structures. It was the biological explanation for what the ancients called purification. But one truth remained unseen. Breath can awaken the same process. In recent years, neuroscientists noticed a pattern. Breathing is not just about oxygen. It's a language spoken between air and metabolism. When tuned precisely, it can flip a metabolic switch from growth to cleansing. That switch lies between two molecular forces, the hormone mTOR, which drives accumulation, and the enzyme AMPK, which initiates repair. Shift the balance between oxygen and carbon dioxide, and you literally tell your cells, stop building, start renewing. The Tibetan monks called this practice Tummo, the breath of inner fire. High in the frozen Himalayas, they said it burned away impurities. What it truly burned were metabolic residues, broken mitochondria, oxidized lipids, molecular waste. Through controlled microdoses of oxygen shortage, what science calls mild hypoxia, the body enters a state of creative stress. Cells interpret it as scarcity and respond by activating the same pathways triggered by fasting. No food deprivation, just the alchemy of air. Modern science is finally catching up to the silence of the temple. At Stanford, researchers found that slow, deep, rhythmic breathing raises CO2 tolerance and activates the genes ULK1, ATG7, and BEC1, the very genes of autophagy. Two worlds now speak the same language, monks describing an inner flame, scientists measuring ketones and enzymes. Different words, same truth, renewal through breath. By age 40, the brain's natural cleaning ability has already declined by half. Mental fog, slower thinking, fading focus. These are not signs of aging. They're signs of overgrowth. Constant food, constant stress, shallow breathing, they trap cells in a permanent growth mode. There is no pause for repair. That's why this technique matters. It restores to your biology what modern life has stolen, the silence between two breaths. In just 7 minutes, the body can reactivate its ancient cycle of purification. No pills, no starvation, only air. The next step is learning how, the precise pattern that turns oxygen into wisdom. That is what we'll explore in the next chapter. Breathing is the first thing we do when we arrive in this world, and the one thing we forget to do with awareness as we live, we breathe. Automatically, fast, shallow, anxious, but there is a way of breathing that does more than fill the lungs. It awakens the cells. It teaches the body to remember the quiet rhythm of renewal. The same breath Tibetan monks practiced centuries ago in the frozen heights of the Himalayas. Science now calls it the 5-5-10 pattern. Preparation sit, straight spine, but soft, not rigid. Still body, yet awake. Close your eyes and notice your natural rhythm. It's short, hurried, incomplete, a reflection of a body stuck in survival mode. Now begin to empty the air. Exhale completely, hold, feel the urge to breathe rising. That mild discomfort is the frontier between two worlds, the world of growth and the world of regeneration. The 5-5-10 cycle. Inhale gently through your nose for a count of 5. Let the air descend, filling your belly, not your chest. Feel your diaphragm expand, as if you were drinking the air. Now hold for 5 seconds. Inside that stillness, carbon dioxide begins to rise. And paradoxically, this improves oxygen delivery to your cells. It's the body's wisdom. The less you cling, the deeper you receive. Then exhale slowly through the nose for 10 seconds. Let the breath flow out like a thread of silk, steady and unbroken, until your lungs are fully empty. This long exhale is not decoration. It's the switch of renewal. It triggers the vagus nerve, slows the nervous system, and tells every cell it's time to repair. Repeat this cycle. 5 to inhale, 5 to hold, 10 to release, 10 to 12 rounds. That's all it takes. About 4 minutes of timelessness. What happens inside? While your mind quiets, your cells awaken. The gentle rise of CO2 and brief waves of mild hypoxia activate the enzyme AMPK, the same metabolic switch that fasting ignites. Genes like ULK1, ATG7 and BEC1 turn on, and the cleanup begins. Damaged proteins are dismantled, old mitochondria are recycled, oxidized fats are flushed away. Your brain shifts to using ketones, a cleaner, sharper fuel that crosses the blood-brain barrier. That's why minutes into the practice, you feel the fog lift, as if a veil were dissolving inside your mind, the biological silence. You are not merely breathing. You are resetting your internal code. The growth-driven mode of mTOR, the one that ages you, is replaced by the cleansing mode of AMPK. Your body whispers, no more accumulation, only renewal. The monks called it the inner fire. Scientists call it metabolic adaptation. Different languages, same essence. A body in balance, a mind in clarity, a nervous system at peace. The sensations as you breathe, you may feel warmth, tingling, a soft wave of lightness, even mild euphoria. This isn't hyperventilation, it's energy reorganizing. It's your metabolism switching tracks. Never push the breath to the edge of pain. The secret lies in surrender, in witnessing the urge to breathe without fear. CO2 tolerance is the new meditation, the art of doing less to live more. The bridge between East and West. In 2016, the Nobel Prize revealed the structure of autophagy. In 2019, research on the Wim Hof method confirmed that controlled breathing can activate it. The monks and the scientists, separated by 1,000 years and 1,000 miles, were talking about the same thing: cellular renewal through controlled breath. 7 minutes. That's all it takes to awaken your inner chemistry of clarity. Practice it once a day, ideally in a fasted state. In the first week, your cells recognize the signal. By the second, your energy stabilizes. By the third, your biology begins to shift toward renewal. This is where breath stops being an exercise and becomes a state of being. In the next chapter, you'll discover why this technique doesn't just cleanse the brain, it reprograms what survives inside it, your thoughts, emotions, and even your perception of reality. The body is a temple, but the quietest temple of all is the brain. Inside that stillness, between billions of sparks of light, breath becomes thought, and thought becomes matter. When Japanese scientists began studying Tibetan monks who practiced the inner fire breath, they expected to find signs of endurance, body heat, or control over pain. But what they discovered was something far more profound. Autophagy, the cellular self-cleansing process, does not merely eliminate damaged proteins. It preserves and strengthens the neural pathways linked to intention. In other words, the brain keeps what you think about while it renews itself. The window of reprogramming. During the autophagic breath, the body enters a state of mild scarcity. Cells recycle. The nervous system reorganizes. In that fragile moment between inhalation and exhalation, between the old and the new, the brain becomes soft, moldable, alive. Neuroscientists call this the metabolic window of neuroplasticity. Ancient monks called it the mind in transformation. Whatever you feel, visualize, or focus on during this phase literally becomes etched into your neural architecture. That is why monks performed these breaths before meditation or prayer. They knew intuitively that while the body cleanses, the mind rewrites. The silent rewiring as mitochondria regenerate and repair genes activate. The prefrontal cortex, the seat of focus and awareness, stabilizes. The brain's noise quiets down. Anxiety circuits dim. Like a river after a storm, the mind clears and reflects the sky again. In this clarity, thoughts stop being random static. They become blueprints. What you hold with calm attention is reinforced. What you hold with fear is dissolved. This is not poetry, it is biology. Autophagy weakens synapses associated with negative emotion and strengthens the ones tied to gratitude, purpose, and coherence. You are not just breathing, you are editing your own consciousness. The alchemy between mind and cell science now knows that prolonged exhalation activates the vagus nerve, the golden thread linking the brain, the heart, and the gut. It lowers inflammation, balances hormones, and tunes the body like an instrument returning to harmony. But beneath the biology lies a quieter alchemy. As the cells cleanse, the mind becomes transparent, and in that transparency, what you think endures. Breath becomes the bridge between spirit and molecule, between choice and change. The monks were not performing mysticism, they were conducting biological transmutation. Every breath was a ritual of becoming, the 21-day cellular reset. After about 3 weeks of daily practice, the body begins to recognize the breathing pattern as a command, a code for renewal. Autophagy becomes faster, more efficient. Mitochondria multiply, focus deepens, mental fog evaporates. By the end of 21 days, thought and biology start to move in rhythm. The mind no longer reacts, it responds. You feel less hunger, not just for food, but for noise, stimulation, and distraction. Energy stabilizes. The body feels lighter, the mind feels clean. Your biological age begins to drift backward, and you understand. Breath is youth in motion, the return to simplicity. The monks never spoke of genes, they spoke of purity. They never measured ketones, they observed clarity of eyes. What modern science calls autophagy, they called rebirth. Both describe the same mystery, the body's power to recreate itself from silence. To breathe is to remember that you don't need to hold on so tightly, not to thoughts, not to fear, not to time. Everything that no longer serves you can be exhaled. 7 minutes, that's all it takes to ignite the inner fire again. The same one that cleans, rewires, and awakens. The same fire that keeps monks lucid into their 90s and now fascinates the world's neuroscientists. You don't need deprivation. You don't need isolation. You only need to breathe with awareness, because the moment air enters and leaves consciously, life reorganizes itself within you, and your brain, your quiet temple, becomes exactly what you choose to think.